So Alex Jones went on the PBD podcast. Now, I was on this podcast not too long ago, actually, and I highly recommend you check out that podcast. Shameless self-plug here, but it was a great discussion, and it turned into a debate around politics and economics and stuff like that. And I actually look forward to going back on it. I think it's good to engage with people on the other side, as long as they let you talk and get your points out, and you are relatively confident in your ability to persuade people and move people in the proper direction. But they had on Alex Jones, and recently they had on Andrew Tate, too, by the way. Andrew Tate is up on roughly 7,012 charges, ranging from rape to, I don't know if it's kidnapping or sex trafficking. There's a whole bunch of charges, and it's not looking good for Tatey boy. But Alex Jones went on this podcast. Of course, this is not too long after he has to pay like $17 quadrillion over the Sandy Hook lies that he told. You had a lot of people who were parents of the victims who were getting death threats, and one even committed suicide as a direct result of the stuff that was going on Alex Jones' show, and he was found guilty by default. And then, he ends up having to pay quite a bit of money. But anyway, he goes on the PBD podcast here, and it is golden. Good googly moogly. He gave us a lot of material to cover. So there's a million things I could show you. I try to narrow it down as much as possible. One of the things we're not going to get to is him and the other host too, really went on a disturbing rant here, back and forth about basically trans people are coming for your kids and they're like evil demons, and they make it seem like there's a really nefarious agenda from trans people, as opposed to trans people just saying, hey, can I live my life as I want, and please get the government out of my way, stop trying to block me from being who I am, etc. So that was dark. And then we got Alex Jones coming out and saying Trump is going to get assassinated, making a hard prediction. He also admits at one point in this podcast to being crazy. And it's funny because in classic Alex Jones fashion, he's like, look, I'm not crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. And then like literally 25 seconds later, he's like, but I am crazy. So this is what this guy does. So let's ease into it here. First, we're going to start with apparently people reaching out to him because of the Titanic submersible that, of course, imploded. What was it, 1,800 meters or 1,800 feet under the sea, and they were basically dead immediately. So, by the way, the 4-day media hysteria orgy fest was really for nothing. And we learned that the U.S. government actually heard the sound under the water, 4 days ago, and so they knew, that thing probably exploded, but they didn't say anything. My guess is because they said it was it was like a secret thing that's supposed to track enemy submarine attacks, so they didn't say, hey, we know this thing is gone, because I guess they were trying to hide the technology. But there was some whistleblower who came out and said, yeah, we knew it exploded 4 days ago. So it's like this media orgy over nothing. Turns out the, Occam's razor was correct. The hull of the ship wasn't good. It wasn't built properly, and it just imploded and they died instantly. But a bunch of people are reaching out to Alex Jones, apparently, according to him, and saying, you got to tell me what happened with this sub, because they're trying to build some grand conspiracy around it. And Alex Jones does not disappoint. Let's watch.
Well, what we have is perception management going on. And so this submarine thing, the Titan and the Titanic, all of this is a great window into this. I don't know what really happened there. We know we're being lied to. We know the Navy and the Coast Guard have incredible sonar. That area in the Atlantic's heavily covered because of nuclear submarine stuff. And they know the signature of an imploding vessel. It's been studied heavily. And they also know the sound of it hitting the bottom. I mean, they can hear somebody thumping on the side of a submarine 3,000 miles away. And they've got signatures. There's been hundreds of billions of dollars put into these acoustic sonar systems and other things. And they've got even more advanced stuff like that deals with these giant antennas they've got strung out that are sending waves to the earth. It's beyond sonar that pick all this stuff up. It's insane. And so they knew exactly when it imploded. They knew they were dead. They knew about the wreckage. And the commander said, we reported it. It's not our job to talk to media. And they decided not to tell you. Yeah. And so they just decided to leave it out there.
Let me just pause here for a second to point out that part. I don't know if it's true, right? I think they probably knew it happened, but nobody said anything because it's secret technology. The U.S. doesn't want our enemies to know that we have it. And then apparently there was some whistleblower who, reached out to the media after we already learned 4 days later, like the oxygen would have run out anyway. And they were like, actually, we knew 4 days ago that this thing happened. That's my best guess. That seems to be the most straightforward explanation as to what happened. I don't think it's a case of the media knew it was total bullshit, but they went for 4 days anyway. right? I don't think that that's the case. And it was a ratings bonanza for them. There's no doubt about it. But I think it was likely some people knew it and they didn't say anything. They didn't want to expose the technology. And then some whistleblower had to come forward and whisper it. And then we learned about it, right? That's the most likely explanation. But we did have basically an unnecessary media 4-day hysteria orgy fest, of which I was a part of, by the way, because I was just as enthralled by this story as anybody else. But this gets really, really good. Listen to his grand theory.
So they knew exactly when it imploded. They knew they were dead. They knew about the wreckage, and the commander said, we reported it. It's not our job to talk to the media, and they decided not to tell you. Yeah. And so they just decided to leave it out there as a distraction with all the Hunter Biden stuff coming out, just like they indicted Trump. Jack Smith did the day the last big tranche of Hunter Biden stuff came out. So
the whole Titan submersible media hysteria was simply to distract from the Hunter Biden story. But by the way, I see the Hunter Biden story everywhere, right? Like, what are we talking about here? And by the way, the first Hunter Biden story that came out was about how, yeah, he's guilty of these various crimes. You know, he's got to pay the back taxes, etc., plead guilty. There's a gun charge mixed with the fact that he's sort of not all there mentally and it's illegal. So he's going to avoid jail time, but have like parole or, you know, community service or some shit that he has to do, right? And like when that came out, everybody's like, oh, you got a slap on the wrist. Got away with a slap on the wrist, bro. So you guys weren't even taking your W when you got it, right? You were acting like, nowhere near enough, bro. And then apparently we got news after that there's potentially more evidence of Hunter Biden corruption. There was some text message where he talks about, I got my dad sitting right next to me and you better pay up or whatever, talking to some Chinese businessman. And my perspective on it is Hunter Biden is definitely corrupt. The whole Burisma thing, I think, lays that out pretty clearly. He's doing pay to play like all these other nepotistic little freaks like Jared Kushner and, Ivanka as well. They made $640 million while Trump's in the White House. And probably Don Jr. and the rest of them too. And Chelsea Clinton, you name it. They're certainly nepotistic. But my guess is he was absolutely lying about having his dad right. Really, his dad's going to sit next to him, the president of the United States, in the middle of like a super corrupt deal, right? Or he was a former senator, then he was vice president. Really? He's going to implicate himself that clearly. And by the way, we know from the laptop stuff, Hunter would always try to get his dad involved. But the reason why, they're running into a brick wall sometimes here is that there is no hard evidence that Biden actually was going along with Hunter. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out, right? And if it does, hey, man, hashtag lock him up. But you actually need evidence to that effect. And what they're talking about here is this story comes out and then, the submersible stuff drowns out that story. It's got to be on purpose. It has to be a psyop. It's not a psyop. Sometimes shit just happens, right? And sometimes it's the perfect kind of story to capture everybody's imagination. And that's what happened in this instance, man. This is massive cope. And even with the submersible story, I saw plenty about the Hunter Biden stuff. I saw plenty. And by the way, I'm not going to take lectures on caring about corruption from these people because none of them have said a goddamn word about Jared and Ivanka making $640 million while in the White House, or Jared Kushner taking $2 billion from Saudi Arabia and doing their bidding. You want to talk about pay-to-play corruption? That's the clearest example of it right there. Or Donald Trump taking tens of millions or $100 million from Saudi Arabia for the Live Golf events, or Trump literally doing a deal with the Sultan of Oman while he's running for president, building a new golf course, getting at least $5 million from them. What are we talking about here, man? These guys are such clowns. But I love the idea. Everything is just like to distract from Hunter Biden's dick, right? That's their worldview. Anything that happens, they've literally negatively polarized themselves against the concept of news. Because every time something comes out and people care about it and they're interested in it, they're like, oh yeah, you're obsessed with the current thing. I'm not. Why don't you care about the War of 1812 like me? It's like, sometimes things happen and they're interesting and people care and they get a little bit obsessed with it, myself included. The idea that you're condescending towards them because they care about the news and stuff that happens, it's beyond absurd. They just want you to focus 24/7 on Hunter Biden schlong and the fact that he does crack and the fact that he has affairs and the fact that he's corrupt. I know all of that stuff. You want to lock him up? I'm right there with you, right? But don't care about this really interesting story that everybody's been obsessed with because it's what losers do, bro. Jesus Christ. So in his mind, it was a psyop to deflect from a Hunter Biden story. Didn't work, by the way, if that was the case. Did not work even a little bit. Okay. Next. So now we have I like this clip because it really shows you his worldview and how simplistic it is. And I want you to pay close attention to what he says here and then compare it to what actually is the case in the media landscape. Okay, he's going to give you his theory on the media landscape. And then think about what the media landscape actually is. Let's listen.
Who at Fox do you see? Do you like what Brett does? Do you like what some of the guys at Megyn Kelly's doing? Obviously, Megyn Kelly's at a different place. Who are some of the names that you're saying? And Megan's already she's one of the best. I'm talking about some of the people at Fox that you're saying that guy maybe won't be at Fox too long himself. Is there anyone at Fox that you're thinking?
Oh, I get your question. No, I don't think anybody's in Tucker's league. I don't think any of those people all just have producers. They try to break stories. They try to chase stories. And Fox is basically a sinking ship. And so I do think a lot of them are going to leave and be successful in whatever type of programs they do. But at the same time, look, everything is going to be either you're a populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up.
Really? That's your all-encompassing theory of everything when it comes to media? By the way, he's not even a populist. You know what a populist is in favor of? Stuff that the population wants. Serving normal people. You know what normal people want? Unions. You know what normal people want? Higher wages. You know what normal people want? Healthcare. You know what normal people want? Higher taxes on the rich. So you're not even a populist. You think you're a populist, you're not a populist. But I love that. I love it. I love it. This is what he's collapsed the landscape of media down into. Listen again.
I do think a lot of them are going to leave and be successful in whatever type of programs they do. But at the same time, look, everything is going to be either you're a populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up.
You're either populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up. Really? Because from my perspective, I see roughly 25 different ideologies in the media landscape. You know, when you look at CNN, it's very establishment liberal, pro-corporate Democrat. You look at Fox News, it's very establishment Republican, pro-corporate Republicans. You look at new media, you have everything from communists to socialists to social democrats to center-left types. You have enlightened centrists. You have people in right-wing media that are far-right who are, conspiracy-brained. That's probably where Alex Jones falls in the spectrum. You have the Nazi types like Nick Fuentes. You have the Ben Shapiro types and the Steven Crowder types. One represents sort of a pro-DeSantis wing of the Republican Party. One is probably a more pro-Trump wing of the Republican Party. They posture like they're edgy and anti-establishment, but ultimately they serve corporate power and they serve the Republican establishment who are deeply corporate. So there's so many different ideologies and flavors and philosophies in the media landscape when you look at new media, independent media, and traditional media, and he collapses it down into, you're either a populist, anti-New World Order truth teller, or you're a globalist shill. It's just so, like, he's dating himself so hard here. It's unbelievable.
Everything is going to be either you're a populist, anti-New World Order, or you're a globalist suck-up. And so that's it. Everything's going to go towards, are you going to sit there and buy the BS of Neil deGrasse Tyson when he just tells you stuff that's completely untrue? And he just says, science, 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 science. You're like, well, show me. Science. And so he's like, I have a pink Lamborghini outside. Well, show me. No science.
When your politics is mostly defined by, I'm against Neil deGrasse Tyson, you're not really doing it all that well, huh? All right, so I got more for you. This is probably my favorite one. He's going to take this in a wild direction, man. Buckle up for this one.
And God will set you on the right path and forgive you, and that's really the answer. And I would just really encourage them to find God. Amen. Because let me tell you, God and the devil are real. You better get that straight.
Look at the smug, self-assured face when he makes a comment like, God and the devil are real. They're definitely real. You got God, who's up there in heaven. It's really blue up there. It's like paradise. And then you got the devil, who's got the pointy tail, and he's got the horns. He's like, whoa, I will do evil to people. Yeah, is this the face of a guy whose opinion you're going to take seriously on, like, the most existential questions that nobody really has an answer to? Look at him. All right, it gets better. We're just getting started.
Where did this come from? How long did it take this? It's epiphany phase. This is like what you're basically saying is like you've been humbled, right? You were at the top of the podium, and then boom, you've been brought down. Everything that's happened to you. Is it Pastor Rodney? Is it you're reading the Bible? You're praying for your enemies.
I've always been a Christian, but then I kind of slip out of gear and turn into the Tasmanian devil. Literally, it's the angel and the devil. Like sometimes before I know it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna die. Oh wait. But I'm faithful to God. I want to be here, but I can jump over the devil really easy. And so I've always been forgiven, and I've always loved other people's success. One of the best things I've always been grateful, and I've never, it's just that I catch myself saying, well, I like that person, but still, they really do a great job. And it's like, but that's all of our wealth together. And so really enjoying the wealth of other people's success is all our human success. Communists and socialists, authoritarians, totalitarians, they, in that movie, the book Oil that was made in the movie There Will Be Blood, it's such a powerful scene, maybe you can pull it up. It's only like 30 seconds long, where he says, Daniel Day-Lewis, probably one of the best actors ever, he says, I have a competition in me. I don't like to see other people do well.
Yeah. That accurately sums up what socialists believe. They're really about cutthroat competition, and they don't like to see other people do well. They want everybody to have health care. They want everybody to have free education. They want to eliminate student loan debt. They want to eliminate medical debt. They want to end the wars. God, oh my God, it's all so lazy. It's all so lazy. It's like, here are the labels of the people I don't like, and yeah, they're really bad. They're really bad. We're about to go off a cliff in a second here.
And I don't like other people. And he's like saying, I want to like you because you're my cousin. And later he learns he's fake.
By the way, shout out to my signature being directly above Alex Jones' head, written in a way that it like contours to the shape of his head. Is that GOAT level self-promotion or what? I'll leave it up to you guys. That looks like GOAT level self-promotion to me. By the way, it was absolutely strategic where I signed my name. Because they gave me the Sharpie, they're like, hey, sign your name. And I originally was going to go to a spot that wasn't going to be on camera, but I was like, where would somebody's head be? Let me go right next to it. And look at how well it worked. God damn, I'm good, bro. God damn.
And he looks like his cousin. He kills him. But, imagine being alone like this. He says, I just want to have enough money to be left alone and be, completely walled off. And he's just not happy. And so I want to be the opposite. But you can't just be like, oh, everything's yours and I'm going to roll over to you. You got to be strong for your family, strong for culture, fight tyrants to build a free market system where we don't make people be Christian, but they want to be Christian because that's...
What? First of all, fight tyrants, and this guy was a simp to Donald Trump. Really? You want to fight tyrants, but you support the guy who attempted a coup and an insurrection and tried to stay in office even though he lost by 7 million votes? He lost over 60 court cases where he tried to say, see, the election was rigged. And they're like, no, it's not. Republican judges, Trump-appointed judges were like, that's actually not true. And he's like, I don't care. I want to get in there anyway. And Mike, better do the right thing. You better overturn the election. He didn't have the authority to overturn the election. And then he's like, fight tyrants. And by the way, embrace free market. I love how, like, anti-establishment right-wingers, they will never let go of that one pillar, that one cornerstone, that sacred cow. I'm so anti-establishment and edgy, but I will never question capitalism. I will never question free markets. Well, hold on. You talk about tyranny all the time. What is a private business, Alex? It is a little tyranny. And I'm not even saying that as like a put down. I'm just describing the nature of what is. You have the owner at the top, you have the CEO underneath, and you have the workers underneath them, and everybody's taking orders. There's no freedom involved in that. Now, you could say you like that, but don't pretend like, I'm against tyranny. No. You would say you're against government tyranny, which is questionable, by the way, even if he is. But you would say you're against government tyranny, and you're like a libertarian type person. But you're in favor of corporate tyranny, of economic tyranny, of your boss being able to tell everybody what to do. And he of course, he roped in free. Oh my God, he loves free markets. He roped in free markets, and then he goes on to talk about Christianity. He's like, we don't want to force everybody to turn Christian, but we want everybody to become Christian. Oh my God, Alex, stop it.
Opposite, but. You can't just be like, oh, everything's yours and I'm going to roll over to you. You got to be strong for your family, strong for culture, fight tyrants to build a free market system where we don't make people be Christian, but they want to be Christian because that's the way they know that's going to be successful and empower them and have them be with God forever. And so it really is a fight, good versus evil. And now people that were agnostic, very famous people, are having spiritual experiences. Some of them are having incredible experiences with like angels and the Holy Spirit and God. Others are literally don't believe anything, are laying in their beds, and a huge black shadow comes in and just rips off their shirt and just huge bloody slashes across them, and then just throws them up against the wall. And then they start finding out, well, okay, what do they do? And they go to a rabbi and he says, put this Kabbalah on and do this ritual. Doesn't help them. They finally go get born again. All of it leaves. And this is happening with sane, well-known people that were not atheists. They didn't hate Christians. They're like, come on, I don't really believe in God.
Homeboy's describing a demon attack in detail and acting like this is factual, acting like this is just a historic retelling of what happened. very famous people, very well-known people, Hollywood people, and then they get, they don't believe in God, but then they're laying in their bed, and then a demon comes and rips off their shirt and scratches them and then gives them a hand job, and they say, I like this demon, and they go, but you're not supposed to like this, you're supposed to like the angels, and I'm the devil, and bro, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? How does anybody sit there and just take this like it's some normal shit? By the way, look, there's actually an angle to this, which is very interesting about communication. When somebody's like charismatic, they get away with so much stuff. If he was describing this in a monotone voice, very dryly, everybody would be like, this person needs a straitjacket. But since he's Alex Jones and he's super charismatic, he like overrides the fact that the substance of what he's saying is non-existent or crazy. He's describing a demon attack in detail. God, unbelievable.
Be Christian, but they want to be Christian because that's the way they know that's going to be successful and empower them and have them be with God forever. And so it really is a fight, good versus evil. And now people that were agnostic, very famous people, are having spiritual experiences. Some of them are having incredible experiences with like angels and the Holy Spirit and God. Others are literally don't believe anything, are laying in their beds, and a huge black shadow comes in and just rips off their shirt and just huge bloody slashes across them, and then just throws them up against the wall. And then they start finding out, well, okay, what do they do? And they go to a rabbi and he says, put this Kabbalah on and do this ritual. Doesn't help them. They finally go get born again. All of it leaves.
Thorazine, Alex. Thorazine. This is like a schizophrenic delusion that he's talking about here. And by the way, I love how he tells this like super detailed story about a demon attack, and he's like, but I can't tell you who told me this. Well, then forgive me if I don't take it seriously. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, more. This will be the last one here. Again, I could have shown you a million clips. I'm trying to trim it down as much as possible. But here we have, this in many ways is like the most important clip. The other one was my favorite. The detailed description of a demon attack. I can't even say the words, right? It's so absurd. But this one's the most important, because take note here of the confidence and ease with which he says stuff that isn't true. Okay? In some ways, this is a part of the podcast people might gloss over, but no, it's actually super important for that reason. The confidence and ease with which he says stuff that is not true. You ready?
Be interesting right now. How closely do you follow the Doomsday Clock?
Very closely. It's like 18 minutes to it.
Okay, I'd like to see where that's at right now.
It should have gone up. I think it was 18 minutes too last time I checked. That's the International Atomic Energy Atomic Scientists Group.
Right. How often do you check this?
I check it. I mean, it's usually in the news when it goes up, so I see it.
You're like, watch. This is my watch right here. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was 18 minutes too before. Let's see where it's at now.
It is 100 seconds to midnight, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
Did you take note of how confidently he said, it's 18 minutes too? Multiple times? He said it like it was the most obvious and correct thing in the world. He said it like he knew it. And then it's like, actually, it's 100 seconds to midnight. And the last time it was like 18 minutes to midnight was a super long time ago. In fact, they might show it in a second here. But I want you to take note again. Super important.
Alex, you know what would be interesting right now? How closely do you follow the Doomsday Clock?
Very closely. It's like 18 minutes to it.
Okay, I'd like to see where...
He follows it very closely. It's like 18 minutes too.
It should have gone up. I think it was 18 minutes too last time I checked. That's the International Atomic Energy Atomic Scientists Group.
Right. How often do you check this?
I check it. I mean, it's usually in the news when it goes up, so I see it.
Like, watch. This is my watch right here. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was 18 minutes too before. Let's see where it's at now.
It is 100 seconds to midnight, apparently.
Oh my gosh. So I've never... Okay. They just...
And they're given the 2020 Doomsday Clock statement.
Changed it, and I agree with that, because it was 18 minutes. They moved it from like 20 minutes to 18, and now it's a minute and a half or less.
What can the average person do to even
explain to the average person what this means? From 20 minutes to 18 minutes to 100 seconds to midnight.
And back up to where it was in 1980, 1990. So just get some context, right? He'll have some images.
Yeah.
All the way back in 2012, it was 5 minutes to midnight. 2010, it was 6 minutes to midnight. 2007, it was 5 minutes to midnight. 2002, it was 7 minutes to midnight. Look at this, guys. We're going back. 1998, it was 9 minutes to midnight. 1995, it was 14 minutes to midnight. We're getting closer. 1991, it was 17 minutes. So he said 18. It was 17 in 1991. You might think it's a small thing. You might think it's like whatever, but it just shows you the confidence and ease with which he says stuff, which turned out to be totally and utterly bogus. And this is what you call a charlatan. This is what you call a charlatan. Now, by the way, I'm not saying he's never been right about anything. You know, he was anti-Iraq war. Good. He was against the Patriot Act. Good. But you don't need to take the whole package and swallow it uncritically, as many do, right? You don't need to do that. And when somebody destroys their own legitimacy time and time again, you know, maybe digest that. Maybe digest that. Because this is one of those guys where when he says anything, you need to fact check it. You need to fact check it. And if in this podcast they pulled up links every time he made any claim whatsoever, you know, what do you be looking? He maybe said maybe 20% of the things he said were true, if I'm being kind. So anyway, that's Alex Jones. Wild podcast. Go watch the whole thing. Enjoy yourself. But just know who this guy is and what he is. I'd like to think a large percentage of his audience watches him ironically because he's entertaining and he's interesting. Not because they actually are believing the things he says. Because he's demonstrated over and over and over again, he ain't trustworthy. He is not trustworthy. And the confidence and charisma and bombast with which he says stuff does not make it true. And there's a good example of it here. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.